I'm Euge Valovirta, and this one is about how to get big and punchy drum sounds in a rock/metal mix. First, let's listen to a clip of the song, which is my next single, called Take a Walk. It has a Nico Hartonen, my old friend from God's Plague and Drive, old friend in general, vocals, and Swedish drummer Adde Larsson on drums. The single will be out on 23rd of March, and the pre-sales will start on the 16th, but you can already pre-save it to your Spotify account, link in the description below. It goes like this. Like that, a good old hard rock song, you know. I just showed you what I have on the mix bus, so you know, because I mix into mix bus, and obviously it will affect the drums also immediately. So what I had there was a Softube's Console 1 and Softube's plugin of Zender, Bender, Chandler's EQ, just a slight boost at mids and highs, and then a tape simulator here. This Creme Analog, it's this one, hardware device. It's a Tegler Audio Manufacturers Pultec style EQ and SSL style bass compressor. So that's that, and this just sends the signal to this device. Then the third one was a Brainworks BX Digital, kind of this mid-size EQ, where I basically had bass shift on the mid signal, and size I boosted a little bit at 8K. So that's that. It spreads it a little bit, and then there's a little bit of stereo with stereo widening. And these were just this was just a limiter to, so that I get this mix to a certain level, so it's easy. It sounds louder, kind of like a quick master. And then the supervision is just that I can monitor the levels and and see the global EQ and what's happening. Okay, so that's the mix bus. Everything goes into that. We'll leave that on. Alright, so the drums. So let's solo the drums and listen to them a little bit, what's going on. And like with the whole mix, I mix into also drum bass, so I have usually these things in there pretty much always. So first it's the SSL 4000E channel strip from Softube, where I have boosted a little bit of 60 Hz and 8 kHz. Let me put this on also here. So what there is, CLA Epic. I really like these Waves CLA plugins, just to give a little bit more roomy sound, glue it together. because the room where these drums were recorded weren't that big, and this has only one Ambience microphone, so I needed to enhance the room a little bit. And then it's this CYHRA machine. It's here. It's a real hardware tube compressor, which has different modes. Now I'm having it on a diode pressure mode, kind of like Neve 33609, and it's on dual mono. I usually like to compress the drum bus by using dual mono. Let me show you what happens when I put it to standard stereo. So when it's dual mono, the room and the drums in general, they just sound a little bit wider, more alive to me. Sometimes stereo is better option, but most of the times I like to have it on dual mono. You hear how the room gets bigger when the compressor is on, the snare is tighter, everything is tighter and kind of like pushed more forward. This just controls the hardware, which is really cool. It's easier for me to show this than the actual device here. And it's a parallel, because the mix is at 4. If it will be full, then it will be, so you can do parallel compression like this if your compression have a mix knob, or then you can send the whole drum bus to another channel where you have the compressor fully on, and then you control how much you want to have that compressed sound with the fader. Both ways are fine. Do the same thing. And then a mag EQ where I have a little bit boost on 40 and air at 20 Hz. So here the low end kind of becomes fuller, and it adds that nice airy thing in there. Quite subtle, but really cool. And then the SSL EQ. Again, it adds a little bit punch. So a few different EQs, one fantastic tube compressor, and yeah, so that's the drum bus. So I mix into this, and I have these usually set up pretty much like this. Obviously I tweak them according to the source material, but this is and the mag EQ, sometimes I have it after the compressor. Now it worked better before the compressor. A few words about the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. What is a Skillshare? It's an online learning community with basically thousands of courses, pretty much about anything. So I have found it really useful. I've learned a lot from Skillshare about editing in Final Cut Pro and music production, mixing, recording stuff. I mean, I've been in the music business as a professional musician, engineer, producer, 20 years, something, over 25. But there's always things to learn. You're never good enough. At least I'm not. I have a lot of things still to learn, and I want to learn. This is a great place to learn stuff. The videos are really high quality, and they're really good. If you're interested about drum mixing or mixing in general, here's a really good video that I can recommend. Mixing music, learn how to mix pop rock song like a pro. It's done by a UK-based engineer called Ian Sutton. He has worked with Rob Halford, can't remember, but many high profile names. So this is really good video about how to route the drums, guitars, everything. If you're interested in this, please use the link in the description below. First 1,000 people will get 1 month for free here in Skillshare. So you can try this out and see for yourself. Alright, back to business. Let's start with the kick. how I have this set up, what I usually do is that there's all the individual drums and then they go to these buses. So there's 3 different kicks, they go all into this kick bus. It's mainly for volume control and a little bit, you know, overall EQ to all of these kicks. There's 3 snares, they go into this snare bus. Well, hi-hat bus, there's only one hi-hat, but this is just for basically for me to control it's easier to control the volume. Like, let's say, oh, the kick is too loud. Instead of dialing all of these 3 kicks, I can just dial the kick here. Like that, so it's really easy. And toms go to the tom bus, all 4 toms, and I've automated the drum fills, so a little bit, you know. And then overrides, 2 overrides, and ride, they all 3 go to this overhead/ride bus, and then ambience bus, well, there's only one ambience microphone, but again, it's here on this bus, so when I click here, everything are here on the faders in the same place, so I can tweak the volume. But yeah, the kick. The first kick, I have a trigger, Slade trigger, Tommy Lee, my all-time favorite drummer. And then CLA drums plugin. Like I said, these CLA plugins are really good. They're really simple to use and, you know, they work. So this first kick sounds like this. Without the EQ and the trigger, it's quite boring. So it's really snappy. So this kick, I wasn't that big of a fan, so usually I don't have everything 100% the trigger, usually it's between 50 or 80, but with this one, all the way to 100. So it's all the sampled sounds, there's no real kick at all. And then I EQ'd this sample with the CLA drums plugin. Because it's a bit without. Great low end, but I wanted to that snappy top end. So these, many times when I mix, if I need to do something fast, I just use this, but also many times I end up using this on many mixes, because this is really good. There's your basic controls, 3 different type of slow end, 3 different type of high end, 3 different types of compression, reverb. I don't have reverb on this one, and then the gate. I don't use the gate here because this has a gate, because it's all sampled sounds. So this gate is really good. So the Steven Slade trigger, it's an industry standard, and there's a lot of different. I have Jens Bogren's sample pack. I didn't use it on this one. Then I have some of my own presets I've been using, and then there's so much classic kits where you can choose. There's toms, you know, snares, kicks, and they're made after real drums, so it's really good. Then I have another kick in there. So that was the kind of the bitey kick. Then I have this really roomy kick, and this is Superior Drummer 3, so you can use Superior Drummer also as a trigger. So again, the kick was a little bit that microphone. So I just used one of my own samples that I have created inside the Superior Drummer, and then I have a sub kick here. You don't really hear it, especially if you listen with a laptop, but it just adds this deep body, and I cut everything, you know, all the high end, and it's just low end. Okay, let's kick. And when we listened that in solo, it was quite snappy and everything, but now in a full drum mix, you know, suddenly it's not that snappy at all. Because there's obviously kick in the ambience mic also. Alright, then snare. There's 3 different snares. So this is rendered. I used again Superior Drummer. This time it was pretty much like 50-50, and I just rendered that to a valve. So it's like this. And you can hear there's a reverb. That reverb comes from the snare bus, because I have there CLA, epic reverb. So that's what happened in the snare bus. And there's a little bit EQ in the snare bus, low cut at 100 Hz, and then a little bit boost at 5K. Alright, then snare top. Instead of EQing, I went with the easy way, and I chose a sample that I know that works. This black snare is a really snappy snare, so and that's a 50% blend. So 50% of the original, you know, real snare, and then this sample, which is real snare too, but snare bottom. Oh, that's muted. Okay, I didn't use that at all. So the snare. Everything. And then hi-hat. So a gate to reduce the other elements. I mean, it's not possible to reduce them completely, but so that, you know, there isn't that much of kicks and whatnot. And I kind of like what the gate does to the sound of it. Makes it feel a little bit more aggressive. And, you know, 1176 FET compressor, soft use. And some highs, and cut it some boominess. That's actually really quiet in the mix, because the hi-hat is really loud on the, you know, ambience, so I didn't need to, you know, have it that loud here. Okay, then toms. So here you can see I've cutted the toms, the tracks quite a bit. The reason was that tom trigger was triggering the kick, yeah. So instead of tweaking that, I just cutted everything out. So this has only information when the drums are actually hitting, so that there's no accidental triggerings. What's happening with the toms? Steven Slade's trigger, it's 50% triggering. When you're triggering the toms, if you do it like, you know, that you're not completely you know, fully the trigger, then you need to tune the trigger so that it's as close as possible to the original tone sound. With this metal tone, this was pretty much spot on with the original tone. If you don't do that, then you might create a chord, you know, original tone pitch and then the trigger pitch. But you don't want to create chords with drums. Drums need to be, you know, single tone, note. Because what happens is, if you, let's say, play a C chord on a guitar, and then your tom you're hitting, let's say, a B flat chord, that sounds rather interesting. So it's really important to, if you use triggers, so that you tune the trigger so that it aligns with the actual drum. The EQ, it's pretty basic. You know, I've cut it mids almost completely around between 200 and 400, just to remove the muddiness. Like you hear, it's a bit dull without the EQ. So with toms, especially in rock and metal, like with kick and snare, you know, you might want to use a trigger just to enhance, make it a little bit more punchier. And EQ wise, it's pretty standard to get rid of the. So what you do is, what I do is, I find the kind of the, you know, what's the nastiest frequency by doing this, like where it's the ugliest, and then cut that off. Like that, there was this clock, cardboard box thing. And then the tom bass, I done some automation, and okay, I didn't remember that. I've done pretty heavy EQ here on the tom bass as well, so let's listen what that does. Because apparently the EQ to the individual drums wasn't enough, so I pretty much doubled that. Then I have this punch here, which adds even more. So gate isn't really doing anything because I've already gated the individual tones. This punch is it's kind of like the transient shaper plugin that Softtubes makes. But it's included here with just like a one knob version, but it does the job. Ride, let's see a place where there's ride. There's ride. Again, it's quite quiet here on the individual channel because it's coming from the Ambience mics. And overhead mics. High boost and then compressor to keep it more, you know, in control. And low cut, everything from 100 Hz. I don't want to usually cut too much out of the cymbals because there is low end information. If you cut too much, if I cut, then they might start to sound like too thin and too harsh. Because I want the cymbals to have a body, especially in this kind of old school hard rock song where everything, you know, at least in my opinion, needs to just be like, you know. The individual overheads, I haven't done anything because they go to this bus. So let's see. boosted some mids and some highs, and again fed compressor with a pretty high ratio. Ambience. Classic all-in 1176 trick, and then a parallel compression. So it's not fully compressed, but the sound is fully compressed. But with this, modern technology, you don't need to have a separate parallel channel. You can just use because many of these compressors and like this SSL channel strip, it has a parallel option. Listen how small the room becomes when I take the compressor off. So it just makes the room kind of explode, makes it more punchy, more aggressive, and the EQ just clears some of the mud. So that was the ambience, and that was the drums. Let's listen to once more. So that was one example, and remember that there isn't really any rules. Well, there is rules, but it doesn't mean that you always need to go with the rules. But general rules that usually works really well with toms. Usually, you need to cut off that boxy mid-range and add some top end, and usually samples. I had on the tom bass, I had also the same room there, overheads no, and the ambience bass, yeah, I had a room also. So these, artificial digital reverbs things, these are cool too if you want to make something bigger. Let's actually listen to the ambience bass now, how it sounds with and without the room reverb. You hear especially the snare kind of. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped you at least a bit to create punchy and badass drum sounds. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care. Bye.